Seltzer Kings
podcasts.
This episode is brought to you by MeUndies. Underwear drawers are like the Wild West. You never know what you're going to pull out or what shape it's in. So upgrade your collection with the buttery soft comfort of MeUndies. MeUndies' signature fabric is as soft as a warm hug from your favorite sweater. Plus, it's breathable and oh so comfy, making it ideal for all-day wear. Get 20% off your first order, plus free shipping at MeUndies.com/Spotify with code SPOTIFY. That's MeUndies.com/Spotify, code SPOTIFY.
Oh, how atheistic can your country be? You have an official state religion, and your king is the head of it. Ass. The following podcast contains...
We're going to talk today about profanity. What I've found in my walk with the Lord is that the spirit of profanity is running rampant throughout the world.
Explicit language. Hello and welcome to the podcast that asks a simple question. When you didn't factor in the shift from the Julian to the Gregorian calendar in your apocalypse calculations, what the hell were you thinking? I'm your host, Dave Bledsoe. This is episode number 478, the Jesus was supposed to be here by now edition of the show. It's part 3 of Winter Series 2025 Etu Y2K. We talk about the folks that thought that Y2K was more than just a computer bug. Stay tuned. What the Hell Are You Thinking podcast is brought to you by the Lord, who wants you to know he will get here when he gets here. The Lord understands that some of you are very excited for his return, but needs you to understand he is very busy. The Lord just doesn't sit around in heaven all day basking in the eternal love of his Father. He has responsibilities of his own, and they keep him busy. The sheer volume of incoming prayers alone ensures that the Lord's inbox management is like a full-time job, and it's not like he can just farm it out to an assistant. The Lord wants you to know that he hears you, he understands your suffering, and assures you that he will be back eventually. Until then, the Lord suggests you lighten the fuck up and leave him to do his works, and when the Lord gets to you, he will get to you. Amen.
The new millennium ignited fears for many different groups.
Every January 1st is a milestone. The end of a century is a milestone. The end of a millennium? I mean, come on. This is 2,000 years since the birth of Jesus.
People would like to hope for a better world. I think that the date of the year 2000 has simply catalyzed that.
There were the religious groups.
It's got to happen. It's in the Bible.
My longtime listeners all know.
You have a drinking problem?
No. I mean, well, maybe, but no. They know that I grew up in a very religious family.
Praise Jesus.
And they also know that now I am very, very, very not religious.
This man is a heretic.
Actually, technically, I think I'm an apostate, although atheism is heretical, so you could say I'm both. This, of course, has been extremely disappointing to my parents.
Along with everything else.
Because they think I'm going to hell. What with me?
I want all the booze and all the sex.
But mostly it's the aforementioned apostasy. And also, my dad thinks it's a real shame because I would have been a very good preacher. And you know what? He's right. I would have been a great preacher. Can I get a amen? Because, pod friends, y'all listen to the show. You know that when I get off on a rhyme and rant, start laying down alliteration, laying down some assonance, rising and resting in cadence, speeding it up and slowing it down, I can bring all the sinners to the yard.
Praise Jesus.
You put me in a shiny suit, get some product in my hair and turn me loose on the congregation, and that offering plate is going to overflow with God's blessings. Overflow, I tell you. Brothers and sisters, the Lord wants me to have an Escalade. Brothers and sisters, the Lord wants me to fly on a private jet. And brothers and sisters, the Lord wants me to have not one and not two, but 3 homes and a vacation cottage, because the Lord, he loves me just like he loves all of you. Yeah. Alas, I could never be a preacher.
Because you do not believe in God.
Oh, please, that has nothing to do with it. You think Joel Osteen believes in God? Joel Osteen only believes in the size of his bank account. The reason I can't be a preacher is entirely my parents' fault. If they hadn't raised me with all these values, I could be a rich man right now. I then had spent all that time teaching me how it was easier for a camel to enter the eye of a needle for a rich man to enter the kingdom of God, or how the meek was going to inherit the earth, that I had to attend the beam in my own eye before casting out the mote in my brother's. You know, that whole turn the other cheek things. God damn it.
As Jesus said.
You know, if there were an actual Jesus, because there wasn't. So I'm a disappointment to my parents because I follow the message, but not the faith. And that's got to be a real bummer for them and for me because I'm not rich, don't have a big house, nice cars, and all that parishioner pussy. But hey, at least I don't have to worry about when or if Jesus is ever coming back. Which brings me to this week's topic, how a computer bug got all mixed up with religion during Y2K along with a bunch of other wacky shit. If y'all thought the preppers were fun, you were in for a real treat because the religious nuts make the preppers look positively sane by comparison. So let's get started. Now, a lot of you are sitting there waiting for me to start going on and on about millennial cults throughout history, but I'm not gonna do that.
Oh, thank God.
I think we covered a lot of that in episode 297, so you can go hear about it there.
That's a plug.
What I am gonna talk about is explaining calendars throughout the history.
Oh, God damn it.
Human beings are obsessed with the passage of time. As far as we know, we are the only species that ever existed that felt the need to compartmentalize segments of time so we can keep track of them. Every species in some way is aware of the passage of time, but we're the only ones that incrementalize it. We are the only ones who ask,
does anybody really know what time it is? Does anybody really care?
Back in prehistory, before we developed the wheel or metal tools, humans spent an awful lot of energy moving giant stones around to keep track of time.
I do not, for one, think that the problem was that the band was down. I think that the problem may have been that there was a Stonehenge monument on the stage that was in danger of being crushed by a dwarf.
Others would design entire cities around tracking the solstice and other astronomical events. The earliest known calendar breaking down individual months was found in Scotland, and it dates back more than 10,000 years.
If it's no Scottish, it's crap.
The Sumerians had a calendar like that, along with the Egyptians and the Elamites. By the Iron Age, there were many calendars in use, and I'm focused here on Western calendars because they're the ones that freak out over 1,000-year intervals. The Babylonians, the Persians, the Zoroastrians, including ones that we still use today, the Chinese and Hebrew calendar. We're in the year of 5785, by the way, according to the Hebrew calendar.
Oh. Really? Where does the time go?
Ancient calendars are largely lunisolar, tracking time via the location of the sun and the phase of the moon. When the Romans were becoming a thing, their calendar was a mishmash of various calendars, including a pre-Etruscan calendar with a 10-month solar year. But it would be none other than Julius Caesar,
Yeah, like the salad.
who came along and decided to tidy up all these calendars for his new empire. He deleted the lunar aspect of the calendar and created a solar calendar that became known as the Julian calendar, with 365 days a year and an additional leap day every 4 years. Effectively January 1st, 45 BCE, the Julian calendar became the calendar for the Western world for the next 6 centuries. This went on until the Catholic Church noticed something.
These numbers, they just don't add up.
There were 365.25 days in a year in Caesar's calendar, but in reality, there were 365.2422 days in a year. In 1582, Pope Gregory XIII wanted it fixed because, and I swear I'm not making this up, Easter was happening at the wrong time of the year. So we literally have to say, for a more scientifically accurate calendar. So the Pope decided, fuck it, this is the new date, and on Thursday, October 4th, 1582, we just skipped 10 whole days ahead, and the very next day was Friday, October 15th, 1582.
Can I do that?
He did.
So 10 whole days just disappeared, never happened, and the calendar was magically reset to keep Easter, an entirely fictional event, on schedule for the first full moon after spring equinox. And I say this to point out that all the numbers on the calendars are essentially meaningless because there's no start point for time. There's no end point for time. Time is all one big piece and is essentially a human conceit to break it into manageable pieces, which is why I tell the bartender when he tells me it's last call, and then he laughs and says,
Time is a flat circle.
So I need to get my fat ass up, pay my tab, and
You don't have to go home, but you can stay here.
The next piece of this utterly silly puzzle comes from a Greek cat by the name of John of Patmos. Now, John was either one of the OG apostles, St. John, hung out with Jesus, or he was just some Greek dude that got exiled to Patmos, an island in the Aegean Sea, for being a Christian. Most reputable biblical scholars believe it was the latter.
Not the one.
No matter what you believe, because again, we're talking about a fairy tale, John did not take his exile well. Indeed, for John,
It was a little bit upsetting for him.
he was so pissed he wrote a whole book about it. And that book would become the final chapter of the New Testament. And pod friends, it's a doozy. Many of you are familiar with it, so I will spare you the details. Suffice to say that John's story is all about Jesus coming back and Jesus.
He's pissed. He's pissed.
And when he gets here, he does some real Wrath of God type shit. Plagues, wars, cool-ass dudes on horses, 7-headed monsters, all the faithful being taken up to heaven, 1,000 years of agony for the unbelievers. I mean, it's a lot. It was so much that a lot of early church fathers didn't really want to include it in the Bible, but it got in because...
It's pretty metal, though.
Revelation spent most of history as an afterthought, a weird thing at the end of the book, good for scaring heathens, but never really taken entirely seriously. After the Reformation, the Revelations went into a bit of decline. It didn't really jive with the whole Protestant vibe. Martin Luther favored kicking the whole book out of the Bible. But in 1830s, Revelations had...
Don't call it a comeback!
Okay, we'll call it a revival, when a British Bible teacher by the name of John Nelson Darby incorporated the book into his whole new theory of the Bible. Without getting deep into the weeds, because frankly, I can't be bothered, he believed that the Bible could be divided into different eras that he called dispensations. Long story short, the book of Revelation was the final dispensation before the rapture, when Jesus came and took all the Christians to heaven and then got medieval on the world's ass. The upshot of all this is among a certain set of Christians, it had become vogue to believe that literally Jesus was coming back any time now.
When will then be now? Soon.
Over the following years, a number of scholars used math to find the exact date of soon. As you may have noted, that soon has not become now, nor should we expect soon to be soon anytime soon. And just the cursory of examination of the thinking behind all this gave me a headache. So I'm going to
skip to the end
and avoid a lot of terms and words like pre and post-tribulation rapture, partial pre-tribulation premillennialism, post-tribulation premillennialism. Wow, these are fun words to say. Post-tribulation premillennialism, pre-wrath premillennialism, mid-tribulation, goddamn, premillennial. You realize this is why I can't even say these words, much less tell you what the fuck they all mean. And somewhere along the way, the end times became associated with the turn of the millennium, because...
You know what? I like nice, round numbers.
And now finally, we get to what the whole episode is about. The millennial morons that were already thinking... This is it. About the year 2000. Because a lunatic by the name of Hal Lindsey published a book in 1970 called The Late Great Planet Earth, a book which went on to become an international bestseller in the nonfiction category, despite the fact that it was...
This is total fiction.
The book became a blockbuster movie.
I'm speaking to you today from the last battlefield on planet Earth.
Hal Lindsey, author of an incredible best-selling book called The Late Great Planet Earth, featuring Orson Welles, is now a film that may change your life forever.
As the forces of East and West move into the Middle East, the stage will be set for the final battle of history, the fulfillment of the prophecy of Armageddon. Is our planet truly in mortal peril?
Did the ancient prophets foretell our future? Or is it all a coincidence? What are the prophecies of Russia's double cross in the Middle East? China's intervention, can it be true?
It's later than most people think.
Is the Antichrist here? Is the computer his weapon? What is the prophetic clue?
For the number is that of a man, and the number is 666.
The Late Great Planet Earth. It'll take your mind further than it's ever dared before. The Late Great Planet Earth. Now showing, or coming soon at a theater near you. Look for this ad in your newspaper for theater and showtimes.
The book and the movie took current events and some historical events and broke them into fucking, I don't know, about 1 billion pieces to try and wedge them into biblical prophecy to show that we're living right now in the end times spoken of in various books of the Bible, but most of all,
Book of Revelations predicted it all.
All the signs from the establishment of the State of Israel, the Cold War, yada, 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 everything everywhere was round pegged into a square hole of prophecy to sell this bullshit to the gullible. And pod friends, there were a lot of those people out there. While it was never specifically said the rapture would come to the year 2000, it didn't really need to, because there were a lot of preachers out there saying exactly that this was the case. Brothers and sisters, we got to pray hard, because the end times are coming. I need you to pray for all of us, pray for the world, but most of all, brothers and sisters, I'm going to need you to reach deep into your pockets and pull them out of your wallets and give money to the church, because the Lord is going to need that money to take you all, to book you on your one-way flight to heaven when the rapture comes. Praise Jesus.
You are a cynical bastard, you know that?
And look, if it were just a bunch of religious nuts bunkering up in the deserts, this wouldn't be a problem. In fact, that's a great place for them. But the 90s had given us reason to believe that these folks did not have their cheese lodged firmly on their saltines. The Branch Davidians in Waco were deep in millennial doomerism, and that was one of the reasons they were all so fired up.
Jesus Christ, Dave!
To shoot it out with the first place. And the Heaven's Gate was definitely a millennial cult. And old Herf had contemplated waiting for the millennium, but he couldn't wait, and he took the comet route out. And there was this group called themselves the Concerned Christians that got themselves rounded up and booted out of Israel in 1999 for planning an act of violence to speed the return of Jesus. From an LA Times article in 99, quote, police said Sunday's raids on 2 houses in Jerusalem's hilly western suburbs were carried out by dozens of police officers and agents of Shin Bet, Israel's internal security service. The cult members, who had been under surveillance for more than a month, did not resist, officials said. The group arrived in Israel last fall. The Jerusalem police chief said at the time he believed the group was planning to commit mass suicide. But on Sunday, police indicated that the Denver group also possessed a danger to others. Authorities said they had taken action to protect cult members who had fallen under the sway of a powerful leader, as well as Israel's society as a whole, unquote. These folks in Israel were hardly the only ones. More from the LA Times, quote, there's a general fear among the 4 million or so visitors who are expected to come that there may be some who had ideas about the end of the world, said Ehud Spiznak, a Hebrew University professor and expert on religious extremism, who is advising police on the phenomenon. They are coming to one of the most volatile places on earth, and the fear is that Jesus Christ does not appear. Some of them might try to help the Messiah, according to their perceptions, by starting Armageddon. There is a concern that they could try to start a war between the Jews and the Arabs. Other Christian groups are also arriving in the city where tradition holds that Jesus was crucified and resurrected. Already, more than 100 American Christians have moved to the Mount of Olives overlooking Jerusalem to wait for the millennium, residents say, unquote. This was not just a problem in Israel. We had it here at home. Oh, boy, did we have it. CBS News reported in 1999, quote, but the FBI warns that groups like the Concerned Christians could be on the rise as the year 2000 approaches, reports CBS News correspondent Stephanie Lombardakis. FBI Director Louis Freeh says, we don't have the ability, unfortunately, to guarantee the avoidance of problems. The FBI is keeping a close watch on right-wing hate groups, religious extremists, and New Age cults. The Bureau also wants to know why such cults so often turn violent. They are turning for advice to religious scholars like Eugene Gallagher, who says eternal perdition tends to get described a lot in text as fairly violent, being thrown into a lake of fire. And adding to the FBI's frustration is the fact that it's forbidden from spying on religious groups, Gallagher says. The FBI is then poised to be between being damned if they do too much ahead of time and damned if they don't when things happen. And that's a very difficult position for them to be in. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of groups that plan to mark the millennium in some way. Just one violent act could set off a chain reaction, and the odds are the FBI won't be able to stop it, unquote. The Anti-Defamation League published a long piece on the problem in January of 99. Quote, a number of books about the approaching millennium and its consequences have been published the last year. Tim LaHaye, a retired minister and political activist, and Jerry Jenkins, a former sports writer, have written a series of novels that chronicle life on the eve of the second coming of Jesus. Oh my God, I read these, a couple of them, because I didn't have anything else to read on the shitter. They're bad. The novels described a near future in which Christians disappear to heaven and everyone left on earth suffers through havoc and the whims of the Antichrist in the form of course, the Secretary General of the United Nations. I will never understand the obsession with these right-wing fucking whack jobs with the United Nations. One of the most ineffective, toothless, and weak institutions in the history of human institutions. And these guys are going to be the ones to run the one world order? They can't even agree on what time to start a fucking meeting. I'm more frightened of the local Rotary Club than I am of the United Nations. The book, the latest is Assassins, have sold millions of copies. Time magazine reports that LaHaye offered warnings about Y2K in an online chat event. He reportedly said it could very well trigger a financial meltdown leading to an international depression, which would make it possible for the Antichrist or his emissaries to establish a one-world currency or a one-world economic system, which would dominate the world commercially until it's destroyed. Rabbi, that's in quotation marks in the original text, Lauren Jacobs said the leader of a Michigan-based Messianic Jewish group, Jews who have not formally converted to Christianity but believe Jesus is the Messiah, has written a report on Y2K for his congregation. In it, he asked, is it conceivable that a computer apocalypse could possibly propel us into a one-world economy and a one-world government headed by a world dictator? Other Christians see not only the impending Y2K problems, but also technology itself as the tool that will allow the Antichrist to seize power. The Wall Street Journal reports that Noah Hutchins, the author of Y2K equals 666, and a radio preacher from Oklahoma City suspect that computers, with their ability to know all about us, whether we've been good or bad, might be a tool of the Antichrist to bring down civilizations. Unquote.
It's not sane. It's not sane.
And these are just the organized groups. There were lone wolf whack jobs out there coming out of the woodwork to make sure the end times were nigh and that the end times were
whites only, strictly enforced.
From a PBS Frontline report titled, succinctly enough, Apocalypse, quote, numerous religious extremists claim that a race war will soon begin and have taken steps to become martyrs in their predicted battle between good and evil. Should be fairly clear to anyone that knows anything about racist who the good guys and the bad guys are in a race war. 3 recent incidents committed by suspects who also adhere to ideologies that emphasize millennial-related violence illustrate those beliefs. Buford O. Furrow Jr., yeah, that is a white supremacist name. The man charged in an August 1999 shooting in a Los Angeles-area Jewish daycare center told authorities, it's time for America to wake and kill the Jews. Ben Smith, who committed suicide after shooting at minorities in Indiana and Illinois, killing 2 and injuring 10 over the July 4th, 1999 weekend, was found to have literature in his home that indicated that the year 2000 would be the start of the killing of minorities. And John William King, another great white supremacist name, the man convicted of the dragging death of James Byrd Jr., a black man in Jasper, Texas, believed that his actions would help to initiate a race war. Each of these men believed in the imminence of a racial holy war, unquote. I mean, these are just some of the groups out there. I mean, they weren't all Christian. I cannot forget to mention that Om Shinrikyo, the cult that released sarin gas on the Tokyo subway in 1995 to kick off a war between the U.S. and Japan that would bring about the end times in, you guessed it, the year 2000. I mean, like I said, Om, not a Christian cult. It was a sci-fi nerd cult. It was an otaku cult that not only had sarin gas, but was mass-producing their own AK-47s, bought an old Soviet-era helicopter, and was actively either trying to buy or build their own nuclear weapon.
Oh, yeah. Well, you see, that concerns me a little.
Again, they wanted to bring about the end times, just in time for the turn of the millennium. It was indeed a busy time for fucking lunatics. With all of this going on, mainstream religions had to do something. They had to respond, if for no other reason than protect their reputations.
Those were the days, right?
More from Religion News, quote, moreover, a distinct backlash has emerged within the conservative Christian community against many of those who issued some of the most dire warnings. Mark Hanegraaff, host of the popular Bible Answer Man radio show, has spent hour after on-air hour debunking Y2K warnings and castigating those he considers responsible. In an interview, he said Falwell, Dobson, Kennedy, and other influential conservative Christians have been taken in by profiteering sensationalists spreading alarmist propaganda, even if they have since changed their tune, because Y2K doomsday scenario fit into a theological belief in Jesus' second coming, a belief that's taken on extra meaning as Christianity's second millennium draws to a close. Hanegraaff, for one, is worried about someone in the church will lose their faith when warnings of mass Y2K chaos fail to materialize. Many people who made life decisions based on Y2K predictions will fall out the back door of the church saying, if you guys were so wrong on a current event, how can you be correct on something, Jesus' resurrection, that happened 2,000 years ago? He said Christianity should not be based on hype and sensationalism, unquote. My brother in Christ, you are so close to finally getting that all of this is a story somebody made up. You're so close. Come with me. Just step over the line. We have cake. As the hype faded in the latter part of 1999, these saner voices speaking from the pulpits began to overtake the narrative, and by the time the clock struck midnight for the year 2000, most of the millennial hysteria had died down. The quote from Matthew 24:36 was spoken over and over again. Quote, but about the day or hour, no one knows. No one, even the angels in heaven, nor the Son, but only the Father, unquote. Taking religious folks back to now being soon again. And only the fringiest of the fringe spent the night in their bunkers. But in all honesty, they were probably going to do that no matter what, because those folks really love a bunker. Now, some folks decided they were not going to be fooled so easily.
We actually sat down and did the math.
And come to find out, everyone had gotten everything wrong about the whole new millennium. The year 2000 was not, in fact, the first year of the new millennium. It was the last year of the old one. January 1st, 2001 was the start of the new millennium because there was no year zero.
Damn it, he's right.
But no one anyone cared to have on the news anyway, went into their bunker and made a lot of money preaching the ends of times are coming in 2001. And of course, nothing happened. A strong argument could be made that the anticlimax of the year 2000 was proportional to the hype that preceded it. Afterwards, we were mostly focused on the collapse of the first .com bubble, the presidential election, a television show with a naked guy on an island. For me personally, the year 2000 was an intensely boring year that was only saved by my starting college in the fall, which would change my life forever, almost like a resurrection. And when New Year's 2001 rolled around, no one was paying attention to the actual millennium starting. The lights didn't go out, Jesus did not come back, and the mothership did not land and elevate humanity to the next level. January 1st, 2000 and 2001 were just another day in the endless cycle of a planet orbiting a star.
Far out, in the uncharted backwaters of the unfashionable end of the western spiral arm of the galaxy,
there are some reasons for this, naturally, because there's no such thing as God or Jesus, and you can't calculate the return of a dude who was never here in the first place. It's like asking Gavin when we're finally going to meet his girlfriend from Amsterdam. The answer is never, because Gavin does not now, nor has he ever had a girlfriend from Amsterdam or anyplace else. The other reason, of course, is that ephemeral creatures like humans are very, very bad at grasping the enormity of time. Our weird little obsession with breaking it into manageable pieces so we can pretend that we're in some way able to control our movement through it is like using an eyedropper on the ocean. Of the infinitesimal amount of the ocean in that eyedropper, the entirety of human history is one molecule of water in that eyedropper. No matter how many stone monuments or hyper-accurate atomic clocks we build, we will never gain control over time, and it's absurd to think we ever could. We live in a single moment. We have a pretty poor recollection of what came before, what was then, and no fucking clue about what will happen soon. Now is now, then is then, and soon is never, because when soon gets here, it will be now. You see? I call this the Spaceballs theory of temporal mechanics, so please don't sue me, Mel Brooks.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Running a business comes with a lot of what-ifs. But luckily, there's a simple answer to them. Shopify. It's the commerce platform behind millions of businesses, including Thrive Cosmetics and Momofuku. And it'll help you with everything you need. From website design and marketing to boosting sales and expanding operations, Shopify can get the job done and make your dream a reality. Turn those what-ifs into... Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/special offer.
That is it for the show this week and for part 3 of our winter series. We will be back next week for the finale of Y2K, where we talk about the legacy of what happened those last couple of years of the 90s on the world that came after. And Pod Friends, it's not great. Speaking of not great, it would be really not great of you to not rate and review this show so folks can find us, take a listen, and decide for themselves whether we're great or not. If you'd like to donate to the Dave Bledsoe School of Modern Temporal Mechanics, kick us $1 at patreon.com/whatthehellpodcast. All that money goes to me getting high and making up shit like my Spaceballs theory. Do all the things Jeremy tells you to do in the closing credits. That way he won't have to feel like...
Do it, I'm surrounded by assholes.
And so for me, Dave, these days of dust, which we've known Bledsoe, producer...
I'll kneel down and know my ground.
Gavin, and all the fictional assholes on the show, we want to say to you can wait. You can wait for him, but Jesus, not coming back. We'll see you all next week.
What the Hell Were You Thinking stars Dave Bledsoe and features Gavin St. James and several fictional minions. The show is produced by Kimberly Steele and a part of the Seltzer Kings podcast network. You can find more information on the show on their website, whatthehellpodcast.com, or on Twitter at @thehell_podcast, or on Facebook as What the Hell Podcast. Thanks for listening.
I have no ending for this, so I take a small bow.
So, that really happened, huh?
Seltzer Kings.
Podcasts.